The light that connects us with the universe. We are deeply linked to light. Our life depends on the sun, and we have invented, thanks to the development of science and technology, artificial light to illuminate our nights. Now we even celebrate the brightness of the city's lights. But we have forgotten one of the most beautiful lights that we insist on hiding, the light of the sky, the light of the universe. Thanks for watching this video. I am Silvia Torres Castilleja, from the Astronomy Institute of the National Autonomous University of Mexico. Irene Cruz Gonzalez, also a researcher at the Astronomy Institute of the UNAM, explains that much of the information we receive is through the view of the vision of what surrounds us. From all over the world, objects, dangers and satisfactions come, for many of us, of light. It is not the only stimulus, but it is certainly the most important. The sun, which is, well, the closest star to us, is in fact our solar system. It depends crucially on sunlight, and life on the planet depends crucially on it. So, yes, indeed, not only in everyday life, but also in what we have created through instruments. The development of the application of electrical energy, and therefore of artificial light, we can say that it began at the beginning of the 20th century. And this has been a very important change. Previously, night lighting was achieved based on fires or candles. With electric power, the entire foci system, bulbs, etc. enters, and this completely changed human vision and behavior. Before, the night was more dedicated to sleep and rest activities, while now, with the opportunity to have light available at any time, the behavior of human beings has been modified tremendously. Technology has continued advancing and there are more and more systems that illuminate and are more efficient. But between so much artificial light, often unnecessary, we stop looking at the sky. We forget that this is where we have found countless responses to explain our presence on this planet Earth. It has been thanks to science, thanks to astronomy and the light of the universe, which we know more about ourselves. What is astronomy? Astronomy studies celestial objects, from objects in the solar system, such as the sun and the planets, to objects on the Milky Way, nebulae, gas, dust, stars, clusters of stars and galaxies, large agglomerations of billions of stars. These systems are gravitationally united and are, on a large scale, the constructive bricks of the universe. So what does this mean? That astronomy studies everything that is outside our planet, and each astronomer is dedicated to certain types of objects, because there is an immense variety. Variable stars, hot, cold, young, old, some are grouped, others isolated. Everyone has their specialty, their groups, their passion. Exactly. Others to groups of stars, to groups of galaxies, to the brightest, to the weakest. Because each of us is trying to expand knowledge, to go beyond what is already known. There are those who study the universe as a whole. All this conglomerate of scholars is what has led us to know, to build the image of what we know today of the universe and space. One of our fundamental tools are telescopes. There are telescopes of all kinds, designed to cover all wavelengths of the electromagnetic spectrum. There are telescopes on land and also spatial. Radio frequencies, longer waves, can be studied from land through large receiving antennas. Virtually all the information we receive from the universe comes through light, in all its manifestations. As Irene already mentioned, the light appears in different wavelengths. Therefore, we depend on the light to know the space better. But this means that we need what we call dark skies. We want the bottom of the sky to be dark enough to distinguish the weakest objects. These can be close but faint objects, or very distant bright objects. The oldest and most distant of the universe are very weak, and to observe them we need optimal conditions. The same goes for radio astronomos, whose instruments also require dark skies and radio frequency. This is affected by telecommunications, television, microwave and vibrations of many electrical appliances. Therefore, large radio telescopes must be installed in very remote places, without other electromagnetic stimuli. David Hughes, director of the Great Millimeter Telescope, GTM, explains that this type of telescopes are built in the highest and cold places. Little amount of water vapor is needed above the telescope, as this affects the measurements. In addition, it is vital to have a quiet place without contamination in radio frequencies, since our instruments are very sensitive to external electronic signals. The main objective of the GTM is to obtain, for the first time, an image of a supermassive black hole and confirm the mathematical predictions of Einstein's general relativity. We do not know exactly what we are going to see in the universe, but it will be something new, original and with scientific impact. This is the fundamental point of the investigation. With such a great scientific infrastructure and an improvement in the performance of this telescope compared to smaller ones, we will have many opportunities to improve studies and research on the nature of the universe, our understanding of the origins of the universe and its evolution during the last billions of years. History and culture of astronomy in Mexico. Astronomy has always been an important part of our culture, and Mexico has always stood out for its astronomical observations and its great astronomers. Our ancestors watched the sky and created extremely precise maps and calendars. The first astronomical observatory was in Chapultepec, then moved to Tacubaya, then to Tonantzintla in Puebla, and again the city's growth forced astronomers to look for a dark, high and far away from the cities. This is how San Pedro Martir was found, located on the peninsula of Baja California, 150 kilometers from the city of Ensenada. It is one of the best astronomical sites throughout the northwest coast of Canada, the United States and Mexico, thanks to its astroclimatic conditions, a high place, with low moisture and tremendously dark skies, with stability in atmospheric turbulence. Over the years, this place was developed and the National Astronomical Observatory was transferred there. Today, excessive luminous flow from artificial sources is known as light pollution. An evil that afflicts us especially in the cities and that, without knowing it, is costing us a lot. William Lee, a researcher at the Annam Astronomy Institute, explains that light pollution is understood as the scattered light that prevents heaven from seeing. The realization that it is a form of environmental pollution, to sympathy for air or sound pollution, is relatively recent. It has different effects. First, the light that comes up from public or spectacular luminaires bounces in dust particles in the atmosphere and lower again, increasing the bottom shine of the sky. This makes it impossible to see the necessary contrast to detect the stars. On the one hand, we disconnect from being able to observe the sky, something that people have done throughout their history, and that has served to build calendars and maintain a personal connection with the cosmos. In addition, it prevents scientific observation and forces to place observatories in increasingly remote places, which must be carefully protected. It also has a biological impact. Migratory birds, insects and turtles use the day and night cycles for vital functions, and disturb these cycles with light pollution affects them negatively. Jose Franco, another researcher at the Astronomy Institute, points out that light pollution also has a significant economic impact. Seeing the Earth at night from heaven, it is clearly perceived that there is much wasted light that does not illuminate the ground. This amount of money wasted to illuminate the sky has a strong impact on the economy of all countries. Therefore, to preserve the ideal conditions of astronomical observation in the darkest skies as possible, around the most important observatories in the world, laws have been promoted to prevent and regulate light pollution. The Law of Heaven in Mexico. In Baja California there is a colloquially known law as Law of Heaven, unique in its kind in Mexico. It is legislation at the state level that regulates public lighting to prevent light pollution. It began as a municipal regulation in Ensenada and then became state law, also extending to Mexicali. Fernando Avila Castro, responsible for the Office of the Law of Heaven at the Institute of Astronomy of the Annam, explains that one of the most notable changes has been the renewal of public lighting. Traditionally, high-pressure sodium vapor lamps were used, which emitted between 10 and 20% of light up. That light does not benefit anyone and represents an unnecessary cost for municipalities. Thanks to the law, Ensenada replaced 17,000 luminaires with 25,000 new with LED technology, whose light beam is directed only towards the ground. This not only reduces light pollution, but also generates energy saving between 40 and 50%, also improving the quality of citizenship lighting. These types of regulations have also been implemented in other countries with important observatories, such as Arizona, USA, Chile and Hawaii. One of the most famous cases is the state of Arizona, where the National Kitt Peak Observatory is located, and where they have worked for more than 20 years in the protection of their dark sky. Diffusion of astronomy, the Night of the Stars. The idea of the Night of the Stars was born in France to spread scientific knowledge among people. In Mexico it began with the International Year of Astronomy in 2009. It is not just about looking at a telescope, but about bringing all audiences to astronomy through a variety of educational and cultural activities. We seek that these activities interest both children and adults. They like astronomy, how good they enjoy it, to read it, to find out. If anyone wants to study it, it seems excellent. That they approach mathematics, to physics, which are our work tools. Or engineers also interest us a lot. We depend on your instrumentation and all your knowledge. My message is that they enjoy what they are doing, enjoy their studies, because that will work for that, and enjoy that life. Conclusion: light pollution affects us all in ways that we still do not fully understand. It affects the economy, the environment, many species of animals, our health and, above all, affects astronomical research. Without dark skies, we isolate ourselves from the universe and we cannot continue discovering the great mysteries that we have left to discover. Thanks for watching this video.